up, everybody? Garrett back here. And what I want to do today is I want to bring you guys back in time. Being a long-time DVD movie collector, I was around for a lot of big things that happened in the world of physical media. Now, what I want to do today is I want to bring you guys back and tell you a little story about what we know now as Scream Factory. Now, if you guys don't know, myself and the boys at Dead Pit Radio have been doing this series for the last couple years called The History of Scream Factory. Now, we give Scream Factory a lot of grief sometimes with some of the choices, mistakes, and controversy over the years, but when it comes to being a collector, especially in this world now of boutique labels, Scream Factory was really one of the front runners for that, especially in the horror genre. Now, again, going back into the 2000s, like I said, being a huge DVD collector, especially horror, you had companies like Anchor Bay. Anchor Bay were kind of that company that you trusted. They were bringing out a lot of horror movies that maybe you just never seen before. So I was discovering a ton of great stuff just based on the logo on the side of the spine. Oh man, Anchor Bay was everything to me. Like I said, I found so many hidden gems that have now to me become classics that for whatever reason I had missed during the years of VHS. Now again, based on my age, a lot of these movies that came out in the early 80s and the 70s and stuff, I completely missed. I wasn't really even old enough to watch these movies. But with a lot of these companies coming out and helped me kind of rediscover these for the first time, like Blue Underground, Synapse, and another label called Shout Factory. Now, Shout Factory was kind of known for a lot of television shows. They put out a lot of TV shows, and they were also putting out a lot more exploitation stuff out around that time, a lot of mainstream stuff. So Shout Factory wasn't really one where the horror fan was going after when they saw that logo. But again, I do have a lot of Shout Factory stuff in my collection, but I can remember them starting to dig a little deeper into horror. So putting out great things on DVD, like I said, they had a lot of exploitation stuff that I was getting. Now, it seems around 2010, Shout Factory started to dedicate a lot more of their releases on more horror-related stuff, sci-fi. Like I said, they were getting out some exploitation as well. But it's because I think that they acquired New Concord, which was a label that gave us a lot of horror and exploitation stuff throughout the 2000s. For instance, things like Slumber Party Massacre. See this like Massacre collection here? This was a pretty valuable and rare collection because they kind of came and went and sold out relatively quickly, and they kind of went under the radar for a lot of people. But yeah, I mean, these are just some of the movies that New Concord did around that time that I think were acquired by Shout Factory, because in 2010 they released this DVD, which in my opinion could have been a Kickstarter to the Scream Factory line that they wanted to produce. So this came out. This was the Slumber Party Massacre Roger Corman Cult Classic Collection, but this was a box set. This had all of them in there, and this is actually a pretty rare piece now. I mean, again, it is still on DVD, but I got the insert. You've got the discs in here. So again, at the time, because these New Concord ones were so hard to find, people were absolutely going crazy for this. And if you pre-ordered this, they also gave you a little perk. You were able to get this pretty neat pillowcase for Slumber Party Massacre. So you were able to get that with the release of this on DVD, this box set, this collection. And I think it sold really well because, again, amongst collectors, Slumber Party Massacre movies were not easy to come by around 2010. So when this came out, it really, really got people excited. Now, from there, they did other things, like they put out the Psycho Legacy, which was like a documentary talking all things Psycho. So that was a real cool addition as well. And then they started dabbling in Blu-ray under that Roger Corman collection as well. So you were able to get the Roger Corman collection on DVD and on Blu-ray. So I'll show a couple here to go along with that Slumber Party Massacre. Things like Forbidden World, Monster, aka Humanoids from the Deep, Beyond the Battle of the Stars. You also had Piranha. And as you can see, things that they have upgraded now on 4K since all the way back in like 2010, 2011, when they released these on Blu-ray under the Shout Factory label. Now, not only that, one of the horror movies they did, which was such a big hit at the time for them, was The Stepfather. And again, this recently just got released as well from Scream Factory in 4K, which I did a review and stuff on. You guys can check that out. But if you look, it says Shout Factory on the spine, because this all happened before Scream Factory was a thing, but I think this started to really pick up steam with Shout Factory. That decided to make almost like a subline or a sub-label within Shout Factory, and that was called Scream Factory. Now, Scream Factory felt even more kind of boutique than all these other labels I talked about because it was really the first time that we saw a line dedicated specifically to horror. Like I said, Anchor Bay, primarily horror related, but they did have a lot of other genres kind of mixed in as well. But this was the first time that I remember this line coming out and being, hey, we're specifically horror and cult classics, and you're going to find a lot of your favorites coming out on HD and also for the first time. So in 2012, they put out a press release talking about this, and I can remember it being such a huge thing for the horror community. It said, Shout Factory today announced the launch of Scream Factory, a new home video-based label specifically focused on releasing high-quality, restored versions of beloved horror films from across cinema history, catering to the dedicated genre fans with a curated section of cult classics and underappreciated gems. Now, man, that had people going wild in the horror community. They were like, oh my God, a label specifically for us, the collectors and the horror lovers. This was really exciting times. People were going crazy for this. I remember this was just built so high. And the first two movies that kind of came along with this press release that they were putting out was Halloween 2 on Blu-ray. Now, this already did have a Blu-ray at that time, so again, people were like, okay, Halloween 2, but look at this. They're giving us this commissioned artwork. The commissioned artwork thing was kind of new in 2012. We weren't used to getting this kind of alternate art, commissioned art. We're used to just getting some kind of either generic poster art or poster art. So at the time, this was super exciting and rad to see this kind of stuff getting put out on physical media. Not only that, slip covers were not really that big of a deal around this time, but they said, hey, if these are collector's editions, they're going to be included with a slip cover, and these slip covers are going to become limited. So again, this was really the first time slip covers really felt like something special to the collector. Before, it was kind of give or take. Some releases had them, some didn't, and I never really paid much attention to them at all. But when Scream Factory came out and basically said limited edition slipcover on all collector's editions, that's kind of how you could differentiate collector's edition and non-collector's edition, was this slip cover here. And it does say collector's edition across the top. This was 2 discs, and the other thing they said they were going to do was give us a boatload of special features. Like, we weren't used to getting this much love when it came to special features on other releases and other labels at that time. We were just getting trailers, maybe an interview, a commentary here and there, but not stuff like this. I mean, this was loaded, featurettes and all that stuff. So it felt like a huge deal when they announced this. And this sticker on this says here, even more of the night he came home. 2 discs loaded with Scream Factory extras, rare TV cut of the film with alternative footage, making of documentaries, commentaries, and much more. So again, this was exciting to get these versions together on this. I'm not sure if we had a part 2 television cut in any other format before. We had the first one on a TV cut from Anchor Bay. I did have a bootleg of the TV cut of part 2, but I think this might have been the first time it was officially put out on physical media, which again made this such a cool release. And not only did they announce that, they also announced Halloween's Season of the Witch. Now, this one at that time in 2012 was a risky move because this wasn't as beloved as it is now. And I do think single-handedly this release had really given this the love that it gets now, because a lot of people actually gave this a chance for the first time, because this was always the Halloween movie that everybody hated. Now, same deal. They said limited edition slipcover. You've got boatloads of features here. Look at all these features on the back. Commissioned artwork. Very, very cool. And it says on this sticker here on the front, 30th anniversary Silver Shamrock edition, loaded with Scream Factory extras, making of documentaries, commentaries, vintage publicity material, and much, much more. But not only that, we also got perks if you pre-ordered these things. Each one came with a little perk. The first one was Halloween 2. Again, not only do you get all this, but you also got, which now I think is very valuable, is this Haddonfield Memorial Hospital nurses cap. So again, this was a promotional piece that you got if you pre-ordered this from their website at that time. So again, I was all in on this label, all in. So that's why I still have this in mint condition. It displays proudly in my physical media room. And I do think this thing is actually pretty damn rare now, because you literally had to be there from the ground up to get one of those things. Same thing with Halloween 3, Season of the Witch. If you pre-order this, you got a poster with this commissioned artwork on it. Of course, I have that poster with the commissioned artwork. I have a lot of the original Scream Factory posters. I pre-ordered everything from them on the first couple of years. So if anybody is a huge Scream Factory collector and is looking for some of the earlier posters or something, I'm willing to sell some of them now, being this far into the game. Just let me know. Reach out to me on Instagram at Born to Be Rad. Maybe we can come up with a deal. As far as this hat, I'm not getting rid of the hat, but some of the posters I may let go. I have sold some in the past, but I was there from the ground up. I'm lucky to say that I was there, so I'm able to kind of talk about this stuff, being there and how excited the community was at the time to get some of these releases. Once these started coming out in 2012, people were excited. They were hyping this hardcore on social media, more than any other company was at that time. So this really felt like something special. Now, a couple other releases they started to announce for their first year line was things like The Funhouse, which again was such a great movie. This did come with the poster. I still have this as well. But it says here on here, step right up to a carnival of terror, includes killer Scream Factory extras, new commentaries with director Toby Hooper, interviews, and more. So again, so cool to see this new commissioned artwork. It also has reversible art on all of these for the original poster art, which is really cool. But again, this collector's edition, it came with extras. This may have been the first time Funhouse was released in the US on Blu-ray. I do believe I did have a Blu-ray from Arrow Video, which was like a Region 2 Blu-ray before this came out. But as far as in the US, I think this really was the first time it hit Blu-ray. And I love Funhouse so much. So it was cool to see it getting more love, because this was something that was introduced to a lot of people for this release. Another one they announced was Terror Train. So again, Terror Train, you get that new commissioned art. It says right here, on one-way ticket to Terror you'll never forget, including Scream Factory extras, 4 interviews, still galleries and photos, and much, much more. Again, this didn't have as many special features as Halloween's did, but again, it was considered a collector's edition. I got the poster with this as well, but this was one of their first titles on year one. And one of the last big releases and the big announcements they made for that first year was They Live, John Carpenter's They Live, and it's got this cool sticker on it that says "Bye" on there. Same story, it came with a poster, it's got reversible cover art underneath, it's got some commentaries here, and it's got a making of featurette of They Live. But I remember when this commissioned artwork came out, people were stoked. I mean, a lot of this artwork that came out were like Jason Edmonston, Justin Osborne, like a lot of these people were really working on these, and it just felt so special at that time for these movies to come out. Like it was something that the collectors had only dreamed about. Now from there, they started releasing more on the first year, non-collector's edition stuff, Death Valley and stuff like that. But for me, being the horror collector that I was, I had a system set up with my local shop that basically was like, everything that comes in Scream Factory, I want it. And what we used to do is I was on kind of a system with them. So I got it discounted because I was on like a recurring Scream Factory type pre-order system with them. So I did get a lot of stuff at a discounted price, but that was the non-collector's editions. The collector's edition stuff I was buying straight from the site. I wanted the posters, I wanted the perks, I wanted all that stuff. But it was a fun, exciting time to be a collector back then when Scream Factory was announced. Now, a lot has happened since then. In my opinion, they've kind of done everything, right? They've kind of done everything. There's a lot more competition now. People are putting out things left and right. Companies are announcing 4 things a month. It's a lot harder. They're no longer a big fish in a small pond. And I think, in my opinion, they just don't feel like the top dog anymore. And a lot of people really love Scream Factory still. And when they put out specific releases like things like The Faculty, Hush, all these things that are coming out, I'm excited still for that, but I feel like they're a little bit few and far in between when it comes to a lot of their new stuff. But Going back in time and talking about how important Scream Factory was to the horror community, to the horror and physical media collectors, is like no other label that I know or I've been around at that time. Like I said, Anchor Bay were the top dogs for me for such a long time during the DVD era. Then Scream Factory kind of took over when it got into the more of the HD related stuff, high def Blu-ray. But man, that was the birth of Scream Factory. And if you want to know more about what happened in that first year and all the other years later, make sure to go check out at the end of this video. I'll put my playlist there where me and the boys from Dead Pit go through each year of Scream Factory one by one, talking about all the releases, our memories at the time, and all the little fumbles and replaced discs and all the stuff that had happened during each one of those years, because it wasn't all great. Now, guys, I hope you enjoyed going back in time to 2012 and talking a little bit more about this physical media history. I love doing this stuff because, again, it brings me back to that time being a collector, and it just brings a lot of memories up to me. So hopefully you guys got a little something out of this. And let me know down below, were you there from Scream Factory's day one launch? And if not, tell me the first Scream Factory title you got in your collection. All right, gang, thank you for checking this out. This is Garrett at Born to Be Rad. And like always, stay rad.